Erev Tov Rabotai, we are continuing with our Mishna Yomi, Masechet Eduyot. We are up to Perek Hey Mishnah Dalid. Today's Mishnayot should be Le'ilui Nishmat, Neria ben Svetlana Ranbai, Eliyahu ben Burchai Israelov, Chana bad Miriam, Sason ben Rai, and Yoshua ben Shifra, Menuchatam began Eden, Amen, and Le'avdil ben Chaim lechaim, and the Refuah Shelemav, Daniel Shalom ben Rosa, B'tok Shah Chole Yisrael, and the Chlama Me'erav Binamin, Od Zion Chai ben Dvorah. Rabbi Eliezer says, Shne dvarim mikule bet Shammai u'mechumrei bet Hillel. Two other matters are to be counted among the disputes in which the more lenient rulings are from Bet Shammai and the stricter rulings are from Bet Hillel. The first dispute concerns the laws of Torah blood after childbirth. When a woman gives birth, she becomes tameh for 7 days for a boy and 14 days for a girl. For the next 33 days for a boy or 66 days for a girl. Any flow of blood she experiences is called Torah blood, blood of purity, and it does not cause her to become a nidar zavah, as says in Vayikra, chapter 12, verses 1 through 5. This dispute between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel appears in Nidah, chapter 4, Mishnah 3. The second dispute to which Rabbi Eliezer refers will appear in the next Mishnah. Dam yoledet shelo tavla, the blood of a Jewish woman who gave birth and did not immerse in a mikveh when her days of Torah began. Like a Nidah, a woman after childbirth remains tameh until she immerses in a mikveh. Therefore, even after the 7 days for a boy or 14 days for a girl have passed, a new mother remains tameh until she immerses in a mikveh. Bet Shammai Amrim, Bet Shammai say, Kiruka uchmeme raglea, any blood discharged during her Torah days is like her saliva and her urine, which transmit tumah only while moist, but not after they have dried. Although the blood does not have the status of nidah blood, since she has entered her Torah days, she cannot become a nidah. Her blood is therefore also not tameh as nidah blood, which transmit tumah even after it dries. The rabbis decreed that since she has not yet immersed for a childbirth tumah, the blood should be treated like body fluids, saliva, urine, and mucus of a woman after childbirth, which transmits tumah while moist. Body fluids of a woman after childbirth, like the body fluids of a nidah, zavah, and mitzorat, transmit tumah only while moist, not after they have dried. According to biblical law, menstrual blood does not transmit tumah as a body fluid, since it does not collect in a pool before leaving the body. Therefore, under biblical law, the Torah blood of this woman is not tameh at all, either as nidah blood or as the body fluid of a woman after childbirth. Nevertheless, Bet Shammai say that her blood is tameh by rabbinic decree. However, they did not decree the same level of tumah in this blood as on regular childbirth blood, so that people should remember that its tumah is only rabbinic and not burnt to umar or kodashim that touch it. Instead, they treated it like her saliva and her urine, meaning like a body fluid, which transmits tumah only while it is moist and not after it has dried. The reason the rabbis decreed tumah on this blood is so that it should not be confused with blood discharged before her Torah days began, which is biblically tameh. Since she is still tameh as the woman who has given birth, people are likely to make this mistake. But Bet Hillel say, metamel lach v'yavesh, the blood transmits tumah while it is moist and after it becomes dry. Bet Hillel hold that until a woman who has given birth immerses in a mikveh, not only does she continue to be tameh, but her blood discharges even during the Torah days are also tameh under biblical law, like those of a woman who has just given birth, until she immerses. Therefore, her Torah blood transmits tumah, whether moist or dry, like that of a nidah. The fundamental disagreement between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel can be summarized as follows. According to Bet Shammai, immersion in a mikveh is needed only for the new mother's personal purification, but it has no impact on the status of her blood discharges. Any blood discharged during her Torah days is ta'or, even if she has not yet immersed. According to Bet Hillel, however, the leniency of Torah blood does not begin until a new mother actually purifies herself by immersing in a mikveh. Since the woman did not immerse in a mikveh during her Torah days, according to Bet Hillel, her blood is still like childbirth blood, which transmits tumah whether it is moist or dry, according to biblical law. Bet Shammai agreed there is a case where the blood is not considered Torah blood until a woman purifies herself from her previous tumah. Umodim bioledet bezov. Bet Shammai agreed in the case of a woman who gave birth while she was a zavah. A woman who experiences her monthly flow becomes a nidah. If after 7 days she experiences further discharges of blood during the next 11 days, and these occur on 3 consecutive days, she becomes a zavah. A zavah must count 7 consecutive clean days without any discharge of blood, before she can immerse in a mikveh to become ta'or, as is in Vayikra chapter 15 verse 28 and Nidah chapter 4 Mishnah 4. In this case of the Mishnah, a woman who was a zavah gave birth before undergoing the 7 clean day period. Therefore, she gave birth while she was a zavah. That until she has counted 7 clean days and immersed in a mikveh, the blood discharged during her Torah days transmit tumah both while it is moist and dry, because it is the blood of a zavah. Bet Shammai agreed that if a Zava gives birth before she has counted 7 clean days, her blood discharges after giving birth are all considered Ziva blood, even those that occur in her 12 days. The blood is therefore tameh whether it is moist or dry. 7 clean days mark the end of a Ziva flow. Before that, all blood is considered a continuation of the Ziva flow. When the Torah said that blood during the 12 days is not tameh, it referred to the after effects of the childbirth and to nuni the blood. It did not say that a continuing flow of Ziva blood, which is already tameh, becomes tahol. And that is then of Mishnah Daled. The second dispute, in which Bet Shammai have the more lenient position according to Rabbi Eliezer, which will be discussed in Mishnah Hay, concerns the laws of Ibum, which were first discussed in the previous chapter in chapter 4, Mishnah 8 and 9. This dispute also appears in Yevamot, chapter 3, Mishnah 1. As explained earlier in chapter 4, Mishnah 9, when a man has a Ibum bond with his brother's widow, rabbinic law views him as having a marriage-like attachment to her. Therefore, he may not marry her close relatives, just as he may not marry his wife's close relatives. The widow in this context is known as his zikukah. Therefore, it is forbidden, for example, for a man to marry the sister of his zikukah. This creates a problem where 2 brothers married 2 sisters and died, leaving both sisters to fall for Yibum to the remaining brothers. Arba Achim, if there were 4 brothers, Reuven, Shimon, Levi, and Yehuda, Shnayim Mem Niswin Shtei Achayot, and 2 of them, Reuven and Shimon, were married to 2 sisters, Rachel and Leah, Metu and Nisuim Lachayot, and those married to the sisters died childless, so that both sisters fall for Yibum to the surviving brothers, Levi and Yehuda. The brothers Reuven and Shimon died childless. As a result, their widows, Rachel and Leah, fell for Yibum to their husbands, surviving brothers, Levi and Yehuda. This Yibum ban requires the widows either to undergo Yibum with one of the surviving brothers, or to be released from the Yibum ban through Chalitza. These sisters must each perform chalitza with one of the surviving brothers to be released from the Ibum ban and become permitted to remarry, but they may not be taken in Ibum by either of the brothers. Since the sisters Rachel and Leah now have Ibum ban with both surviving brothers, each of these women is not only the zikukah of the brothers, but also the sister of their zikukah. The surviving brothers are therefore forbidden to perform Ibum with either one of them, since that would be like marrying the sister of their wife. Once the second brother dies, the widowed sisters Rachel and Leah have a Yibum ban to each surviving brother. Therefore, if Levi were to perform Yibum with Rachel, for example, he would be marrying the sister of his other Zikukah Leah, which is rabbinically forbidden. However, since this prohibition is only rabbinic, the Yibum ban remains in effect on the biblical level. They therefore need Chalitza to release them from the Yibum ban. The Mishnah now teaches what happens if the surviving brothers violated the law and married their Zikukot. According to the first Tana, Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel do not dispute this ruling. V'im kadmu v'kansu. If both surviving brothers went ahead and married the sisters, each perform Yibum with one of them, Yotziu, they must divorce them since these marriages were rabbinically forbidden. The Mishnah cites Rabbi Eliezer's tradition that the law we just learned is the subject of a dispute between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, with Bet Shammai adopting the more lenient view. Rabbi Eliezer Omer Mishum Bet Shammai Yikaimu. Rabbi Eliezer says in the name of Bet Shammai, if they married the sisters instead of performing chalitza with them, they may keep them, even though the marriages were rabbinically forbidden. Although the brothers violated the rabbinic prohibition against marrying a sister of a zikukah, Bet Shammai permit them to stay married according to Rabbi Eliezer's tradition, because the marriage itself nullifies the forbidden relationship. For example, when Levi marries Rachel in Yibum, her Yibum ban to Yehuda disappears, since the mitzvah of Yibum with Rachel has been fulfilled. From that point on, she is not Yehuda's zikukah, and her sister Leah is no longer the sister of a zikukah. The same reasoning applies when Yehuda marries Leah. So although the brothers violated the prohibition against marrying their zikukah's sister, once they have performed Yibum, we allow their marriage to stand. But Bet Hillel say they must divorce the sisters whom they married, since these marriages were forbidden. In effect, Bet Hillel agree with the Tanakama's ruling. However, according to the Tanakama, the ruling was not in dispute. According to Rabbi Eliezer, the ruling was the subject of a dispute between Bet Shammai and Bet Hillel, with Bet Shammai ruling leniently that they may stay married. And that is an Abu Tayyib to this Mishna Yomi. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen v'amen.